What was it like covering Tupac when he was fresh out of jail and then having all of that content coming through the magazine?
I mean, you know, when he got out of jail, I mean, and things started to, you know, kind of heat up in the beef and everything going on, you know, I always was really careful about how the magazine was used and what we printed in the magazine. You know, it's, you know, you never want to be in a situation of printing something that's going to sensationalize or get somebody really upset, you know, that type of thing. You know, nowadays it seems it's accepted and it's common. You know, everybody wants a headline or get somebody to click and they'll say or print whatever it is, you know, push the line and not really care. But, you know, I never looked at it that way running the Source. It was always, you know, there's a responsibility, again, to the community and to the culture that came with my job of you know, running the Source. So, you know, when that stuff, I tried ways, like one thing I did as an example to try to help diffuse the situation was, many people will remember in that '96, we had Suge Knight on the cover, and he's sitting on a Rolls Royce in a red suit, one of our also most iconic Source covers everybody remembers. But if you go back and you look at that cover on the front page, it says Suge Knight, quotes underneath it, "It ain't no East Coast, West Coast thing." That was a quote from him in the article that I made sure we put on the front to let people know this isn't no East Coast, West Coast thing. You know, it wasn't that. That was, you know, other media outlets were kind of pushing that and the whole East-West and promoting that, and that was, you know, fanning the flames, so to speak. But, you know, I always tried to find a way to help, you know, as best as possible.
What was it like growing the Source from a newsletter to $1 million business, man? When you started to make money and profit off of this magazine, how did that make you feel? And did you think that it was going to get as big and as profitable as it was, and it turned out to be from a newsletter?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my vision was growing all the time, and I kept thinking bigger and bigger and bigger. And I saw, you know, a lot of what I did and what became with the Source, and you know, but then there's a lot that I didn't get to, which is really what Breakbeat is about. And this return for me is to kind of pick up the torch, so to speak, of where I left off, because even though I left the Source 15 years ago, even though it's been that long, like I said, nobody really has filled the space in the way that the Source, you know, was for hip hop. So, but yeah, I mean, it was. I always was excited again for the success of it to grow, but I always believed it would get bigger and bigger and bigger. I took a lot of pride in, you know, ownership, you know, because you know, eventually I owned the Source 100%, and I had, you know, never had any investors, never had any bank loans. You know, where I got into trouble was when the .com came out. I took out a big loan to invest into the internet and the Source.com, and that was really the biggest single mistake I made all those years. Was, you know, I saw the future of digital and where it was going to go, but I was too early. And, I bet the farm on the digital, and I was just, it was too early. But
oh my God,
everything happens for a reason. So, you know, we're back here now, 15 years later. I got Breakbeat coming out to the world. That's just the beginning with the podcast network. We have many other things, a whole technology side to the business that we're going to be launching, you know, coming up as well. And yeah, I think it's going to be bigger than the Source ever was.
Dave, talk to me about walking away from the Source. What was that like when you had to walk away from your baby?
It was tough. It was tough. It was very, very tough. It took me a long time to kind of recover from it, you know, because it was my baby. I started it, you know, this piece of paper, $200, and took it to, you know, what it became, a company, you know, worth close to $100 million, and owning it and everything, and then losing it in the end. So it was tough, but you know, I always knew that I could come back and utilize the knowledge and the experiences and the relationships. You know, they could take the name from me, but they couldn't take all of that. And you know, in a lot of ways, you know, that's why the Source isn't, you know, as what it was anymore. You know, just because, you know, they didn't have those things.
The driving force wasn't there. when you find yourself pushing 100 million with the Source, what was going through your mind at that time when you realized that this business model is working?
I mean, going through my mind is I'm trying to get to $1 billion.
Oh!
You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
That's where my mind was at. You know, am I going to take this company public? Is it going to, this, that, and the other? I mean, yeah, I was enjoying life at a certain point. I gained that kind of financial freedom that was wonderful. But, it was always more than that to me. It was more about where I was going and changing the world. And, like I said earlier, I think the job hasn't been finished. Hip hop has changed the world, but we can do a lot more to change some of the most important things that we all know need to be changed in this world and this society around us that we're dealing with every day. So, I believe that hip hop has the power to do that, and with the right people and the right vehicles, and the right voices and platforms and networking and connecting those dots and things like that it'll happen.
Okay, when you went from paper to digital, what are your thoughts on media going from the hand-to-hand combat with the newsstands, the gas stations, to now it is the .coms and the streaming?
Yeah. Well, one thing I've been thinking about, like with the podcast network, I think a podcast network is really the answer of what a digital magazine should be. We've heard that term, digital magazine, for 20 years now. It's never happened. There's no digital magazine that's ever, lasted, or we read, I got to read this digital.
That's right.
But a podcast network is like, taking the pages and the sections of a magazine that you would normally get, but bringing them to life, in a digital form through different podcasts now. So we'll have a podcast that is sports related. We'll have a podcast that's fashion related. We'll have a podcast that's health related. We'll have a podcast, on all these different types of sections or subject matters. So that's one thing that's kind of cool about it is, I feel like I'm kind of doing the same thing, but just, finding a way to do it differently in the world and the technology, world that we're in. And like I said earlier, I just think it's exciting because it's different, but the upside is even bigger, and the opportunity is there because of that level playing field I was talking about. Somebody can come up with an idea tonight in their garage, in their basement, and if it's the right idea, it's possible that you could be the next Facebook 2 years down the road, or what have you. It is possible right now. It's still wide open. So that's a great feeling, and I'm excited about it, and just blessed to have the opportunity to come back into the community and into the industry and into the media space at this time, and try to make something big and make a difference.
Exactly.